Good morning and welcome to Fat Cow Farm. Now, I'm pretty excited to introduce you to this spray unit. Now, this particular spray unit had a dark past, so it's come from the Conservation Forest and Lands Region 15. Now, I think the guy said to me that was out at west of Victoria, Warrnambool Way sort of area. But in saying that, so this was a spray unit for blackberries and noxious weeds and things like that. Now, with all this motivation that I've got and for Comfrey tea, this is going to be our new little experiment here at Fat Cow Farm, converting this spray unit into a Comfrey tea sort of inoculator for the pastures. Now, remembering when we were going through putting our not biochar, but our Comfrey tea together, and I was thinking about how am I going to get that out into the pastures. So I found this on an auction, and so we've picked it up, and I'm going through the rebuild phase for this particular unit at the moment. So what I've done is I've changed over a little pump here. And this pump is a spray pump, so it is designed for more spraying of your blackberries and things like that. So it's a tiny little petrol engine, and then we can get that hooked up. But I'm pretty excited about how this is all going to come about, and I'm going to throw it out there to see if anyone's done something like this before, because what I want to do is put a boom on the back. And so when I pull it behind either the tractor or the side-by-side, I then will want to be able to then have a boom that comes out and then spray the Comfrey tea over the pastures, and especially after we have seeded. So what we're sort of going through the process now of is trying to find a no-till seeder, so that we can then start following the seasons and really start preparing our perennial grasses here at Fat Cow Farm. Because I am worried about the dry coming through, and I want to be able to keep the vigor into the soils with all these perennial grasses, but also annuals as well. So things like what we've been looking at is our radishes and things like that up at the top paddock. We also want to be looking at more of a pea based and a lot of legumes and things like that. So after I've seeded, I can then back it up with a Comfrey tea sort of spray, let's call it a fertilizer so to speak, but natural. Something that's good for the soil, something that's good for the seeds and things like that. So out the back here, what it does have, and this is what's come with it, so it's got that typical sort of pest, weed guns, spray guns and things like that, so like for blackberries and whatnot, because I have seen them on the side of the road and then just spray out, around the area. But this is the area where I want to organise a boom, and not typically sure how I'm going to do this. I do have a fitting that comes through this side here, and then those fittings there is what I'll attach for the boom pretty much. So this is the back end. I think all this will have to be removed, and either we do something as a fold down or we have something permanent that sits here, and then go from there. So I really just wanted to sort of show you where we're at with moving forward about looking after these pastures, and I'm really stoked about how the Comfrey tea is actually playing a part here at Fat Cow Farm. So I think we mentioned earlier that we had close to, I think we've got about 60 plants that we've propagated, so they're going to be going into the ground this spring, and so let them look after. But I still got a lot of the mature Comfrey plants here that I'll be using those leaves. I've seen them all now starting to poke their heads up, so It won't be too much longer before we'll be able to start sort of really putting a mass volume together, and maybe in an IBC. And that's something that I will use, and then I'll have to sort of then come back up with a filter on a little pump, so that I can then pump into this container. Now this one here is 800 litres. So, you know, we're only really looking at the end of the day, if it's a 10% mix, you know, like, what am I looking at? Roughly around about 80 litres of Comfrey tea. So if we're using an IBC, you know, that's telling me that I've got like 10, and one IBC can give me basically 10 hits filling this and then spraying out over the pastures. I'll need to work out about what sort of volumes do what, but also too, having to look at the spray jets themselves, and the amount of volume that they sort of pump out. So, you know, if I'm looking at maybe, in my head, I'm thinking that we use those pop-up sort of sprinkler ones that you would find in your local irrigation shop, and you know, a lot of people have them around the house. And so once that pressure builds up, the little guys pop up, and if I have 5 or 6, 8 pop-up sprinklers at the back here, maybe that's something that I'll have a look at later on, and because we can easily get those sort of fittings. It's all just going to come down to the pressure of the new pump that I've put on, and then we can go from there. So anyway, here we go. So from conservation, forests and lands, from a dark past into a happy future, I'm going to really say, working towards this whole natural fertilizer sort of scenario and getting those seeds that right inoculation. Hopefully it all comes together. So yeah, all about picking up your spray unit, converting it into Comfrey tea. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.